Dun, 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 dun. Kilted
Kilted
balls.
balls.
Woo!
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Hey,
Back on
welcome
the same
back.
page.
I'm glad you are. I'm glad you are. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us at the Kilted Balls podcast. Ballbuster back from vacation, back into the norm,
There you
normal
go.
office.
Looking beautiful.
Yep.
I am
And
still at home.
yeah, but you were actually gone for a little bit in there, right?
I was, yes. And
So
I felt all excited because I actually made a short on the first day early, but then I didn't.
my wife saw it. She told me, she's like, "Oh, did you see Jared's video?" And I'm like,
hmm
"No, because I don't watch our
Yeah,
videos."
I watch my own.
I'm like, "He said he was going to do it." I go, which is good because I go, it's kind of his job. So he's
Yeah,
kind of fallen down on
kind of my job.
that. Kind
So
of his
yeah,
job.
I was in Atlanta at America's Mart, and if you missed the short people and you're listening now, anyone who is like if you want to do something that's buy sell related, or you have a small business, and even if you want to add products, different things like that, I would highly suggest going to America's Mart. It was only having 2 days really was tough. I mean, we didn't get to see a lot of things that we wanted to see. I mean, we went through a ton of it, but just because sometimes you just get caught in these conversations and it might not even be anything you're interested in, but just the people were really nice, and I'm a jibber jabber anyways, and there's some spots where people are doing a little bit of pitching, and that's all new to Gina. So people were like scrubbing her hands with stuff and doing her nails. So, and that's not stuff that, I'd be interested in buying at all. But,
Right.
just it was an awesome time, and I would highly suggest it for anybody.
Nice. So what was some cool products? What are some products that Ballbuster would like?
Some products that Ballbuster would like. Well, there was a food section if you were going to pursue that same
Ooh.
aisle. And the Albanese people were there passing out all their stuff and everything, which was cool to see, to see their booth. Um, I mean, literally there was everything there. Like, I mean, there were some spots we just skipped by because it's like you walk downtown, small town Michigan, and you go to the little store,
Mhm.
like you could see where they got all their stuff.
Right.
We saw all those stores, and whether they got them from those people or they got them from somebody else who's taking a little cut, you don't know. And
Right.
even people in there, you could see like, oh, they must be getting them from these people because these people are a lot bigger. And these people, they have like a little tiny booth down in the bottom. So,
Yeah.
different things like that was just interesting for me to see. And, just as far as kind of being around enough to where I can recognize, not every time, of course,
Right.
because I've fallen for that stuff. And Jason and I were talking about that too. Just like sometimes you think you're buying from the factory or the factory rep, and you're
Yes.
like three people down and like everyone's taking their little cut, and you're just like, wait a second, how am I supposed to make any money? Because by the time you're selling it for so much,
Right.
make it worth your time and energy.
I had a one of my distributors, one of my favorite distributors. He's, obviously we stopped doing the candy, but he always would try to find the next guy up.
Yeah.
Like he
And you can't
always
blame
tried.
them. I mean,
No, and he
that's
was be
smart to
like,
do.
I'd be like, I know what you're doing. And he's like, well, I need to know. I'm like, no, go ahead. I'm like, I'll give you his number. Here you
Yeah.
go. And then he would come back. He's like, well, I can't make any money doing it that way. I'm like, no, that's why I'm okay with you going above my head. I'm like, I told you right off the bat that I'm not the wholesaler, or I'm
Uh-huh.
not that I'm not the importer.
Yes.
I'm like, how did the importer conversation go? Well, he wanted me to order like a ton at a time. I'm like, yep.
Mm-hmm.
I go, that's what we do. And he goes, well, I can't store a ton of this. And I'd have to get all these different flavors, and I'm not going to move those flavors. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's the deal.
That's why I'm taking my small cut, because
Right.
I am storing it, and that was one of the things where I was teaching Gina a little bit, like you have the advantage, which it was really funny to me because like a lot of people were like, well, and they're like, I don't know if they were new people or just not used to being there, or they just brought them in for that event. Who knows? Because we
Mhm.
saw the whole gambit. but they're like, well, your minimum order is $200. Like you have to get $200 worth of stuff to buy wholesale from us. And I was like, okay.
When I went to the
So I
candy
got to get like 10
conference,
of these. Yeah.
when I went to the candy conference once, they were like, we have a minimum order. I think Albany's was one of them. I was like,
Hmm.
I want those snakes. They're gluten free. They'll work great with the licorice. And they're like, well, we have a minimum order. I'm like, okay. I go, well, what is it? And they're like, you'd have to buy 50 snakes. That's the box they come in. I'm
Yeah.
like, I go, that's your minimum. And they're like, yeah, we're really sorry. I'm like, sorry. I go, buddy, I buy it by the thousands of pounds. And he's
Yeah.
like, oh. And I go, I'm probably not going to buy 50. I'm probably going to buy like 500 to test it.
Yeah, exactly,
Like,
exactly. And that was the funny part because I'm thinking the same thing. Like, but that's the nice part about going someplace like that. Like they have their relation. Like one guy, we saw some blankets that we loved.
mm-hmm.
The blankets that were really awesome. We think they can go well with the sheets. And talking to the guy, and he gets his stuff from India, and India does the natural materials. Like when I was first looking to get the sheets made, okay, India, just for the, I don't know, not that China has a bad name, but it does to some people.
It does for sure.
But India, no one, we couldn't find anyone to do anything synthetic there. But the blankets he had were amazing. And, just talking to him, and he's like, well, I have these sheets too. And I'm like, well, I have sheets. I'm not really interested in that. But, but he brings in containers full to Texas. So he's wholesaling out of Texas. And
Right.
I don't have to order the hundreds of thousands of dollars in the containers to try it out to see if I like it. And if I do like it, I'll make a smaller percentage, but I'm fine with that.
Yes. And I remember trying that way back when we were in the candy business. After going to like that candy show, I'm like, hey, we should add this to our lineup, this to our lineup. And she's like, no, I don't want to buy it. I'm like, it's only like buying $100 and we can
Hmm.
test it and see. And she
Hmm.
was like, I don't want to. I'm like, okay. Right.
Yeah.
Because we weren't necessarily in that mood. But
Yeah.
even now, I do a lot with Albany still for my own
Hmm.
personal. Like I was getting
Yeah.
ready to make an order today and we got to the
Hmm.
magazines. Cal's like flipping through and I'm sitting there looking at it going, this is how like everybody does it. They buy it from Albanese and then they package it themselves or they
Hmm.
put it in their bulk food. And I'm like, I'm gonna start making like, for lack of a better word, dime bags for my classroom. Like
Hmm.
throw 50 cents in the cookie jar, take your packet of gummies or
Yeah.
whatever, right?
No, that's awesome. I mean, that's
Well, that's what kept telling my girls to do, and they wouldn't do it. So now
hmm
I'm like, I wonder how much trouble I'd get in if I just had like a big scientist piggy bank and said,
hmm
drop a quarter in, take a bag of candy
hmm It's for the, and
for the
put it
lab.
towards your Yale app. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I do. I put tons towards my lab. So hey,
Hmm.
this will just help
Yeah.
contribute. So
Yeah. I was just telling your story. I was telling your Bitcoin story last night because I was talking to a friend of mine. I guess I could drop his name. Jay and Lisa are in town.
oh, nice.
So we were hanging out with them last night, and you probably have heard stories before, but one of the things Jay and I really, we really get along well and talk well. So we talk business, we talk
Oh,
stocks
right.
and, all that stuff. And he said he bought Bitcoin at 400. I'm like, we were really close back then. Like, why didn't you tell me about this stuff? He's like, I just bought it. But an interesting story he was saying. So then he had to make a wire transfer. So he went to his bank. I forget how much he was going to buy, but he did the wire transfer, and they're like, okay, we'll let you know, blah blah blah. And the next day, his bank called him and they said the government said you could not do that transfer. Like the government said no. And then like it was either that week or the next week is when Mount Gox went down.
Okay.
So the government knew something was going on. They were saving people from losing money.
Yes.
And then, he ended up buying it from another spot, not through Mount Gox, which is, I've only heard about it. Obviously, I wasn't involved during that time, but it's just something that he's had for a while. No, no, I'm sorry. He bought it for 700, but then he said he sold it for 400.
Oh no.
It's like, okay, yeah, that's a
Uh,
bad thing. And I told him your story about twice you told students that it wasn't probably going to be worth anything and not to worry about
well, I mean, we were teaching it, and I just told them, they were like, "Why don't you buy some?" I'm like, not my thing. But it was funny because it just recently, like, people always think, what would I, do if I went back in time or if I did this? And I'm always like when I make a trade or something, I'm like, ooh, I need to remember that this 10x. So if I ever come back in time, I'll be like, okay, on July 18th, this is going to
Mm-hmm.
10x. Right. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm an idiot. All I need to do if I go back in time is the first time I started mining Bitcoin, I needed to take it seriously, mine the shit out of it and buy. Like I was thinking about, I'm like, what if I had bought 1,000 Bitcoins? I think I would have had 10 Bitcoins and then sold it when it hit 60 because you knew it was going to hit 60. So just put a
Mm-hmm.
sell order right away for 60,000, let everybody laugh at you.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it hits 60, you're like, okay, cool, sweet.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I'm like, dang, I go, that's the thing. Even when it was $1,000,
Mm-hmm.
like I go, could you imagine coming home and Amy going, did you buy 10,000 of Bitcoin? And me being
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, like she would have freaked the F out.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd be
Mm-hmm.
like, just trust. And man, I'd have
Mm-hmm.
been a hero in like
Well,
20.
we talked about any new listeners hadn't heard the story, but we were all together that summer and you were mining Bitcoin and we were talking about it when we were
Yes.
playing our Smurf Village
Mm-hmm.
and it was like, oh, this is interesting. And I've always was like, hey, let's try this. Like
Yes.
take $100, take $1,000, like just do it. See what happens. Who cares?
Yep.
And I was laughing because early on when I was really getting to know Jay, he was buying Apple, and it was like, hey, why don't we buy Apple too? Like we have some extra money, and we
Yeah.
didn't. But I mean, now he's like, yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. It's nice. It's a nice thing. Thinking
I
about
mean, that
buying
was
things and it's a nice thing. My closing is tomorrow.
oh
So
awesome.
wait, no, Thursday. Thursday. They wanted it to be Wednesday,
Congratulations.
and I was like, whatever. And they're like, okay, Thursday. But I wrote them because I hadn't heard from them. I'm like, listen, are we doing this or what? And they're like, actually, yeah, we were gonna message you. We were gonna do it like Wednesday. Will that
Okay.
work? And I'm like, maybe. And then they wrote back and said, actually, Thursday. I'm like, sure.
Hmm.
I'm like, let's do it. Let's do
That's
it.
awesome. That's awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
we have someone's looking in to see if the property is dockable as a selling option, and looks like we're been talking to a realtor. So
Wow.
yeah, so
What
we'll
like
see.
what how did you get the person who wanted to know it's dockable, or was that just a real estate agent?
Yeah, that was a realtor was said that, oh, I'm going to look into this to see
Did
because
you
of where
just
you're at and stuff like that.
did you just reach out to
We
him?
were talking to her about that. Yeah.
Nice, nice. That's kind
Yeah.
of exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Like, because obviously it would be a price difference.
Yeah, you think,
Yeah,
right?
it might be worth putting in a dock just to say, like,
Oh,
okay.
just to say it's dockable. Yeah, it's got a dock, but
Yeah, I
there's
got a
no
dock.
water. Well, it's a dry season.
No, it's super wet right now. Everything's so high. That's
Really?
why I'm like, pictures need to be taken now. Like that's what we've been talking about. Like, remember on the way when we drove to work, like
Yeah.
you'd see like it's high and like coming on the edge, like all those spots where you'd see
It's
water in Lake
so weird
Norman.
because up here it's been incredibly dry summer. Like our
We got
grass is finally starting to turn back green.
hmm everything's super high up here. We gotten so much rain.
It's crazy. It's
So the
crazy.
lake's really high.
Yeah, not here. Not
Hmm.
here. We're a little
So it's
shallow.
it's exciting.
That is awesome. And it was your kiddo's birthday this week.
Yup,
Amy
he
was like,
turned
"Oh, I forgot to
4.
call him." I'm like, "You can still call."
He doesn't have any idea.
I'm like, he doesn't know any difference. So,
Actually, if you would have called on his birthday, it would have probably been difficult to get a hold of him,
oh yeah,
realistically. Yeah.
but he's 4 now. That's crazy. Was it like a switch? Is he like an angel now that he's 4? Because past the terrible threes.
I don't think he realizes he's 4 yet.
Oh, dang it! Dang it! I was hoping there'd be a
Although
switch
when
there.
we were seeing our friends yesterday, he didn't hit anybody, and we were out a little late, so that was good. I had actually made that comment, like, I'm surprised he hasn't hit anybody
Because he
yet.
turned 4.
Yeah, because their kids are 6 and 8,
Okay,
so one a little bit younger and the one the same age as Ollie.
that is awesome.
So maybe
Maybe
I
you turn
forgot
a
about that.
corner.
That I've heard that there's a switch, right?
Yes, yes. All of a sudden they're good. Just like with gals, right? Like from what I've heard, mine have always been good, but a lot of people
Hmm.
said, "Oh my gosh, once they become teenagers, you got to wait like 5 years to talk to them again."
Okay. I have heard that.
Yeah, that's not true with my girls. So
So it's funny, Gina was talking about this. So in the last 2 years, like I've kind of, except for teenagers, I've had the gambit,
nice.
the toddlers and in that age, and then Tristan, at the higher level and going
Yep.
away. And
So you haven't had
Mhm.
those first tweens.
Yep. Yep. She's
Nice.
like, it's okay. Like you won't like they'll act like you don't know anything, and that's I'm like, okay,
All the time. All the
I'll
time.
accept that.
I had to talk harshly to one of my girls recently, one of the younger ones, because they were complaining about parenting or something. Like while we were driving, they're trying to
Hmm.
tell everybody how to parent. I'm like, you need to just shut up. Like, you're not the parent. You don't know what you're talking about.
Hmm.
I go, we might know. We've done it now 2 or 3 times.
Hmm.
So I don't know if she's talking from personal experience that we did it wrong, but I'm like, you just need to chill out. Chill out.
And it like hit a button for you.
Well, just because it's always happening. And this time
Oh,
they were
okay.
driving, and I was like, focus on driving, and they're trying to like yell at the people in the back. I'm like, focus on your driving. Don't listen
Hmm.
to everybody else. No distractions. And
Yeah.
finally, like we stopped. I'm like, you're not a parent. Stop pretending you're a parent.
Hmm.
You're a 15-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Chill, chill.
Hmm. It makes sense. It makes
Well, and we're
sense.
all that way. Like I remember trying to parent people when I was 15 and 16. So
Hmm.
it's like a thing that humans do, but it's
Yeah.
good. You got to also be put in your place every once in a while. Like, hey,
Hmm.
that's not you.
Yeah.
Chill out. So
See,
always a good reminder.
dropping some bombs today.
Yeah. Dropping bombs, truth bombs, baby. So you saw covers or blankets. Did you see anything else that you guys would be
Oh
interested
yeah, we were
in?
talking about that.
Yeah, we're kind of
So
jumping around.
yeah, I definitely saw some things that were sheet related,
Okay.
and Gina is a huge Halloween fan, and I enjoy Halloween quite a bit, and I'm becoming more of a Halloween fan. But
Sure.
we think we're gonna carry like a Halloween line. We saw a lot of really cool Halloween stuff.
Like a Halloween sheet line or Halloween
Halloween, like
like Party City.
on the website, there's a tab. Do you love Halloween? Click here and carry
Nice.
stuff on the website that's just Halloween related, gifts, things like that. I think I'm gonna do a gift section too, because people are already. I have people coming there, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, like if they're just looking around, like, oh, this might be fun, that might be fun, because it used to have like a home and decor, had candles,
Oh
and
yes.
had the pillows and stuff like that. So we've
Hmm.
had other things in the past on the website. So I'm just thinking about going back to that a little bit, because just like we were saying, if I make a couple $100 investment, a few $100, and make $1,000, like that's cool. I have room. So room
10Xing
is,
is never bad.
yeah, room. Well, no, it's just double.
Oh, I thought you said if I
10x.
spent $100 and made 1,000.
No, then I bumped it up to 500.
Oh, I
Instead
didn't
of
hear
then
that
I
part.
said a few hundred. No, yeah, I didn't see anything like that there.
I'm like, go ahead and 10X. That's like terrific.
10x is sweet. No, I mean pretty much everything we saw there was right around double, which is commonly what it is in retail.
Hmm.
We've learned that.
Yes.
And
Though the candy
and
was 4X.
yes, the candy was, but you were the wholesaler, so you were the people who I would have seen there
Yeah.
at the show. I mean, you weren't the importer.
But even the other people were 4Xing close
Yes, at shows. Yep.
at
Well,
shows.
I
Hmm.
guess a little bit online as well. And
Yeah.
that was another thing. Like when you start thinking about stuff like that, because that's even an option. And it was talked about a little bit. Like I could do little shows around here, and if it's like where I can do stuff out of the van, I don't need a work van. Just do some
Hmm.
basic things and stuff like that. So there's still a little bit of that there. Like that might be fun where it's not $5,000 for booth rent, and I hope that people are going to be there, and
Right.
to pay for my hotel room and my booth and all that stuff. I need 10K before I before I make $1.
Right.
You know, there's not that much pressure on. So yeah, it's, you know, that's always in the cards. It's always in the cards as option.
Heck yeah. Heck
So
yeah.
I saw one thing. Oh my gosh, it's what you're getting for Christmas.
Nice.
I loved the booth. I think I can put it on the website as gifts for him and stuff, but it was so sweet. I could tell you, think you remember by Christmas time?
Well, it's me. So
You'll probably remember.
I'll
Okay,
probably
let's just
remember. I'll
talk
probably
about it
remember.
because it was the most exciting thing that I saw there. So
And you're not
it
going to
was,
share it with the viewers?
I'm sharing right now.
Oh, okay.
It
I thought
was
you
a
were going to wait till
way, it
Christmas.
was a way to smoke your drinks, smoke food,
Oh,
like the whole
nice.
setup. It was like you'd have your own cup and it was like a little thing there and it came with the kitchen torch because you'd have
Yes.
to kitchen torch it and make the smoke go into it. So they were smoking whiskey while we were there and then they had like some other drinks and stuff they were smoking.
So kind of
And
like
then
when we had that coffee that was smoked.
exactly. It was exactly like that coffee. And I told the lady that I'm like, there was a place by my friends. They used to smoke their coffee and I loved it. But yeah, so they have like just the drink portion, or
Hmm.
they have like the food one. Like it's two different gift boxes. And the
Yes.
bigger one had like you can put like they put cheese and some meat in there and they did it and Gina was like eating it. She's like, "Oh my gosh." And it was everything that booth was like. I was so excited to be in that booth.
So why don't you do that? That sounds amazing.
I
Like,
am
could you
gonna carry
imagine
I'm gonna
selling
carry
that
some
like
of
a
that stuff.
cherry festival or doing a show with those?
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely carry that.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I
I
thought it
love
was
your
really cool. I
idea
thought
of
the product was
gifts
great.
for him because as a
Mhm.
sheet thing, stereotypically most of your customers are female.
Sure, yeah. I I think it's well, I mean, I don't know how, you know, obviously Google is like reading all their stuff,
Hmm.
but there's a spot. Yeah, it's high 80s, low 90s are female on the website.
Yeah. So having
And
the
like they
gifts
track
for
all that
guys
stuff.
where they can just do that while they're getting sheets, like
Yep.
that'd be freaking
And
sweet.
I mean, people get into people, and it doesn't even have to be alcoholic because you
Right.
know the
We had
like
the
the
coffee.
yeah the coffee the faux drinks are really popular right now, the fancy
Oh
non-alcoholic
yeah.
drinks where
Hmm.
you know they had different mixes for this, which is well, just like part of their line that they've expanded into, which were really cool as well. So they had a lot of really neat stuff. I have all their information and there are definitely some people I'm going to be ordering from. I should have kept some of that stuff here to drop some stuff, but when I get it in I'll show you. But yeah, you're getting one for sure. You're getting one for sure, especially because I can get a wholesale.
Nice. Nice. I like it. Getting things for wholesale's the best.
But yeah, we saw we saw a couple other products that we are interested in, and so yeah, that we can put online and have.
So much fun.
And the food was super good. I'm glad I went with the Airbnb. I was super happy with that. Two
I
blocks, everything.
My first experience was an Airbnb this last week, and it was great. Right, it was
Hmm.
good and went smooth.
Hmm.
Interesting. We were talking about Arrived last week, and
Hmm.
they sent the Airbnb listing for the vacation home I bought shares in.
Oh, awesome.
And they're like, here's the Airbnb listing if you want to reserve it. And the cool thing was, I don't know how many people or if it's an all the time thing, but
Hmm.
they were like, you do, if you want to rent it, like through Airbnb, we'll give you 50 shares on another product or another thing or the,
Oh, really?
yeah. And I was like, well, that's cool. Like, that's like a $500 share thing.
Hmm.
So I was like, man,
That's pretty
that's,
awesome.
I
So
know.
that one went through for you.
It has not. I checked it today. It's at like 70% or 77.
Oh, is it? See,
So,
I've been gone, so I haven't looked at any of that stuff while I was
mhm.
gone.
But I'm still happy. Like, I'm like, okay, it's listed on Airbnb for like 400 some a night.
Hmm.
And if you go through our management company, it's like 300 a night
Hmm.
because, our management company. But
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you should be able to turn a profit at 400 a night, I would think.
Hmm.
But it's
Yeah.
awesome because it's like a 4 bedroom, like a couple streets off the beach, but it has a pool. and like a
Mm-hmm.
backyard fire pit and everything. And I'm like, that would be a sweet place to stay for the week.
That's awesome. That's
I
really
think,
awesome.
hopefully other people think that so I can
Hmm.
make money.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that I like making money. So that'd be
Hmm.
cool. So
It is fun. It's like a little game.
it is. It's like a little game and I enjoy it.
Hmm.
So I was thinking this last week when I was looking at the Albanese thing, speaking about wholesaling, and I was like, I kind of want to own a candy store. I've said that to Amy before with liquor. So I'm like, I just think that'd be kind of a fun time.
Hmm.
I'd probably be
Yeah,
fat, but
it'd be easy.
mhm. But
Especially to add probably ice cream or something like that. Because you'd have to have different draws for people, but
well, I think
depending how big your store is.
my first thing was I was like looking at like the stuff from Albany's, like their fancier stuff.
Hmm.
And I was like, this would be cool. I go, but that stuff never moves. Like I've been to so many stores and nobody's buying that fancy chocolate. And
Yeah.
I'm like, but I think the way you need to do it is all the tiers. Like,
Hmm.
here's the really
Yep.
fancy chocolate. Here's the cheap stuff. Here's your foreign stuff.
Hmm.
Here's all this cool things and make it kind of like an experience.
Hmm. And if it's somewhere you can walk to every day, why not?
The right, like my basement,
Sell it right out of the basement.
right out of the basement.
Look, that could be really cool. You never know what you're gonna do in the future.
Add CBD chocolates and candy and gummies. Here's the
Hmm.
drug section over there.
Hmm.
Here's the
Paint
kid
it all
friendly over there.
psychedelic.
Don't mix them up.
I don't need to have anyone wandering in the wrong spot.
Yep. Don't wander in the wrong area. So that'd be pretty funny, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Heck yeah, that'd be fun. But
See, all
probably
these
won't.
things you think about. And actually, it's funny. Today I had a guy come to the warehouse. He's like, oh, and I always get the same line. Oh, I drive by and no one's over here. I'm like, you're just driving by at the wrong times. He's like,
Yes.
oh, I have what did he have? A welding business. He's like, I'm sick of renting. I was like, yep. And he's like, you be interested in selling? I was like, it's full of sheets and that's my business. So I think the number that would need for me to move is not a number that people are willing to pay. So we're chit-chatting. He's like, well, do you have a number in mind? And I'm like, someone offered me 600 and I said no. He's like, I could build for less than that. I was like, yep.
Yep.
So I was like, unless you're looking into getting in the sheet business.
Because then I'll sell it to you for 550.
No, it'd still have to be more.
It's still
I
have
just
to,
wouldn't have to I just wouldn't have to move them.
that's right.
That'd be the difference. I wouldn't feel as bad.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Maybe I should just put a sign out front.
That
Like,
says I'm not interested.
no, say like 1.5 and we'll just walk away from everything here. So people don't have to come up and ask.
1.5 million as is, you get everything in there.
Yep.
And then they at least
Inclu-
know. Like, and they
including
can
Molly
walk,
Bean.
yes, include my name.
Hmm.
And they can walk over and be like, listen, I know that's what your sign says, but what if I did 1.25?
Hmm.
And I'd probably be like, all right.
Yeah. That'll work.
I guess that's what
Hmm.
we have to do.
I'd have to
So
break it down right. It'd be 300 for the building and then the rest for the sheets.
yes, yeah, maybe only 200 for the sheets or for the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to write that
they,
agreement
they don't want to pay a
correctly.
lot of taxes. So,
Right, you don't want to pay that. So, and this will
mhm,
make your capital gains better.
mhm.
No, that makes total sense. I agree. That's what they should do. Maybe even do it in Bitcoin or Ethereum.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
You
So
know,
speaking of, I don't know, how much do we have? I guess we have a bit of time. So we touched on did we touch on this about our friend who is running for office? Have we talked about that on here or will we just talk about it in person? I can't remember.
I do not think we've talked about it on here at all.
Okay.
Not even a
S-
little bit.
So I can't so we have a friend running for office and we can
Mhm.
just leave it at that.
Yes.
And
We're hoping to interview them at some point.
that would be awesome. That would be
So they're
awesome.
not running for a local office like I do. They're running
Hmm.
for United States office.
Yes, which I didn't realize at first, and
Mhm.
that is pretty exciting. But and there was Ballbuster had a great idea, I felt, especially because we're both pro Bitcoin and
Mhm.
pro
Crypto.
cryptocurrencies in general. We both agree that there needs to be some sort of regulation
Mhm.
and some things need to happen. I was even talking about this last night. Like, yes, some things need to happen to make it easier for people. Because if somebody just wants to get some ETH to say, okay, you need to write down these 24 words, don't put them in your phone, don't let anybody see them, and don't ever click on anything. And then you can have this ETH, which you can use smart contracts and all this other stuff. Most people aren't going to do that. And that's why
No.
we talk about being early,
Right.
but it is something for the future and for our kids and for her kids as well,
Mhm.
the future. And so we don't necessarily know how she feels on blockchain. And I came straight out. I was like, don't sell out to the big banks. Like, stay true to your constituents.
Mhm.
Fine. Not that I'm a constituent, but I'm a friend, but I'm gonna support her for
Yeah.
at least a bit. So, being honest.
And you're gonna support it for a Bitcoin?
For a Bitcoin. No, we can't do a whole Bitcoin. That goes against. But it is funny. Like, she can't accept any cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, so
As
I looked that
that's
up.
where I was going.
Yeah, I looked it up, and for those of you who understand where Kilted and I live, we looked up, and there's only 3 states that specifically have said we don't allow our candidates to accept crypto.
Hmm.
And it's Oregon, I think, right? And then North Carolina and Michigan.
Hmm.
So, and if you're like, why is that funny? Because Kilted lives in North Carolina and I live in Michigan. So
Hmm.
it's out of all 50 states, only 3 of them don't allow it, really. And it's our states.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of a rub. The funny part is, people, the federal government does allow you to. So
Yes.
when you're in the federal government,
Hmm.
like if they were already a congressperson, they would
Hmm.
be allowed to accept crypto because they're in the
Hmm.
federal government.
Yep.
But if you're running in Michigan, your Michigan can't.
Yes.
So it's just a
And it's yeah, I think it's hilarious. I was thinking for myself, and I don't know. I think she catches episodes here and there. I don't think she listens to too much,
no,
but I
probably.
was thinking I had an amount that I would like to donate, and I
Mhm.
was just talking to her this week about it, which is why it's fresh in my head.
She called
And
you?
mhm,
Oh, nice.
yeah, but I couldn't get out of her like how she got the information. But I'm sure Jamie just said enough to where she kind of thinks she knows what we were gonna do, but she
Wait,
doesn't.
did you tell her she had no clue what we were going to do?
I started to say something about it and the conversation didn't go that way.
Yeah.
And then so I just didn't worry about it. But especially because when we first started this podcast, we were like, XRP had already been in the court case for a while.
For a
And so
while.
that was one of the things that we were trying to talk to her about and about, it's easier for people to transfer money just using that basic XRP as an example. And
Yes.
all the people here in the United States who have family somewhere else in the world that they can send to for pennies instead of double digit
And
percentages
instantly.
instantly. So just that reason. So I thought about sending half in, like the amount that's in my mind, and then saying, I have this other half, it's in XRP. And these are the great things about it, which just recently the government said it is not a security. So the SEC, but these are the reasons for it. And that's really to me, it's the future and it's deep. Like, it's not just, yes, you can make money if you're buying at a certain time and selling at a certain time. And we've talked about a lot of that,
Right.
but just like what you can do to help, and it's helping not necessarily the rich, not necessarily the ultra rich. It's helping the average person, or
Yes.
you know people who maybe, if you're from a different country and you're here, you're probably not. I mean, there are a lot of doctors, don't get me wrong, but a lot of people are just, they have normal jobs and they're getting by and they're trying to get money back. Just, well, Jesse and Raquel was sending money back to the Philippines and she was
Yes.
paying crazy amounts.
And it took a long time. And that's something I
Mhm.
think as Americans, we don't realize very often. But even if, like, here's a classic example, right? Like when I want to take money out of my cash app, right, and deposit
Mm-hmm.
it in my bank of normal fiat US dollars,
Mm-hmm.
it takes like 2 days to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it says, okay, it's going to take 2 days unless you want to pay all of these fees. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to take me 2 days. If I want to send you money on those things, I'm allowed to, and it's
Mm-hmm.
instant because it's
Mm-hmm.
not real money because you've got to spend 2 days to get it to the bank as well.
Yeah.
Right. So people talk about like the US dollar is real and the fiat is real. But when you're using Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, all of those things, none of it's real
Mm-hmm.
until you send it to your bank, which weird takes time and takes your money.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't like understand because if I'm doing Ethereum, first off, and this is why people don't like it, rich people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
The
need the bank.
establishment.
I don't need the
Mm-hmm.
bank. I
Mm-hmm.
can just do huge amounts, little amounts, any amounts, and I don't need any bank. And it's almost instant, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it takes us what, 2 minutes to transfer,
If that, but yeah, say 2 minutes.
right? It's
So
like
keep the
boom.
network slow.
Yeah. And so it's moving. And yes, there's fees, right?
Mm-hmm.
We were just talking about the fact that it was going to cost me $4 to transfer some money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But it's almost instant. And that's what XRP is trying to do for banks.
Mm-hmm.
XRP, that token is to make it so that bank transfers happen instantly and you don't
Yeah.
have the huge fees. So that if you're trying to send money to someone, you don't have to Western Union. You don't have to go through all of these hoops that a bank makes you go through.
Yeah.
You just go
So
boop.
just I was messing on my computer here, on my phone here. So the fees that you're talking about, because
Mhm.
you're right, there are fees involved.
Yes.
So before we got online, I moved some of my tokens around, and I had to pay gas fees, and my gas fees ended up being 0.5% of my total transaction. To put it in perspective for
0.5%.
people.
Yes. And if you're like, how does that help me? Because when you use a credit card to do it, it's 2% or
Mm-hmm.
3%. And
Yep.
you're like, wait, it's not 2%. They don't charge me that.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's paying it.
Yes.
Someone's paying that fee.
I when people order, I'm paying that, like
Well,
all the credit card fees.
or I'm
Yeah.
charging you that. It's built into
Mm-hmm.
the price, right?
Yes, exactly.
It's kind of like when you go to a fair and they're like elephant ears, $7. And you're like, don't I owe sales tax? And they're like, no. Well, you have to pay sales tax. It's
Mm-hmm.
worked into the price.
Yes.
Right. So in reality, they're
They
not
just
selling
back
it
it
for
out.
$7. They're selling it
Mm-hmm.
for $6.50 plus
Mm-hmm.
fees, but you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to declare the fees.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
when you're paying for all that gas at the pump,
Mm-hmm.
you're paying the fee.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Well, a lot of states, they have it. And I know Michigan is one where you pay more if you put in your card. If you go in and pay, they say you save like 10
It
cents
depends
a
on what
gallon.
stations you're at.
Okay, because I've noticed that here. They've started doing it here. It used to not be like that here, or I
Yeah.
just didn't notice. But yeah,
Like
like
random stations will do that. So yeah.
mhm.
Well, people, I mean, lots of fun stuff today. I
Oh
hope
my
you
gosh.
enjoyed the episode.
Anyone made it all the way to the end got some awesome mobs. I love getting fired up talking about
Heck
this
yeah.
stuff.
Heck yeah. I'm excited to hear more about that campaign too. So
Yes, I
anyway,
am.
this is Ballbuster signing off.
Kilted Dragon Jerry, love you all.